Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to part 1.2 of our How to Make an Avatar tutorial. So the first part of my series, if you know kind of what you need for your avatar, you can have skipped that video and come straight here. If you're not too sure what you need, go back and watch the other video. In the first video, we talked about what version of Blender I use, how to get it, how to search up for assets and parts of the avatar. We covered TOS, which is terms of sale of each asset, credits, how to find free assets, and then also how to move around in Blender. I do have my shape keys turned on, my screencast keys turned on so that you can always see what I am pushing and doing when I'm moving around in Blender. But if you need to know the basics, I do cover that in my other tutorial. Today, we are going to be just kind of getting started very simply because I want to keep these tutorials kind of short, as well as I also have to leave to go do something here in a little bit. So for this video, we're going to just kind of be covering how to import the basics. So the body, the head, the hair, things like that. This will still apply to importing literally everything else. The ears, any clothing, shoes, things like that. The basics will still apply. But whenever it comes time to adding the clothing, the jewelry, all the accessories, things like that, there's going to be a few more steps. That won't necessarily be in today's video. So this is just kind of where I'm going to leave off for the week, just so that you guys have a week to get started, to get familiar with Blender, get your assets downloaded, kind of get the idea of what you want. And you can start importing as much as you want to after this tutorial. And then next week, I'll start covering how to actually attach it to your avatar. Just that way, you guys have a week in between to kind of get started and get things in Blender, and then we can start actually putting it together. So that being said, let's get started. Also, I apologize for any rambling. I have been rambling a lot more than normal when making these videos. ADHD has been kind of bad lately, so I apologize in advance. So we have our empty Blender scene here that we're going to use to get started. Like I said in the last tutorial, I am going to be using the Cats plugin. A lot of creators don't like it because there's a big button that will pop up that's going to say Fix Model, and if you click that, it's going to break stuff. Cats itself, whenever you're importing through Cats, can break stuff. I personally never have any issues with it, and I like it because all of my buttons are right here. If you're uncomfortable with Cats, or you run into any issues using it, or you just don't want to use it, come up here to File, and your import button is going to be right here, and you're 9 times out of 10 going to be importing an FBX. So you would always click File, Import, FBX. For me, I'm going to be using the import button through Cats over here to get started. So let me find tutorial avatar, and I'm going to be using Zenpia's Fit Base, and I'm going to be using the healed version and high poly, just because I don't really like the low poly. Nothing against Zenpia, I like the higher poly because it's just a little bit smoother. And I'm going to hit import, and there is my model. And like I said on the first tutorial, I'll say it again this time. All I ask throughout this series is that, build your own avatar. All I ask is that you just don't copy my avatar's design, because this is an avatar I'm going to be putting up for sale after the tutorial series is done. So that's the only thing I ask. If you want to follow along and practice, of course that's what this whole tutorial is. I just ask that you don't use the exact same assets, the exact same sculpts, things like that. Just don't replicate my avatar and make your own. That's all I ask. But I will tell you guys what I'm using, because in the last tutorial I talked about Zenpia's base versus Pandas, and then there's tons of other creators, too many to name to recommend. I just use Zenpia's because it's really easy to use and I like it. So this is how your model is going to import, and this is what I was talking about in the last tutorial with the perspective view versus the orthographic. Orthographic's just more straight on if you need to see what you're doing. Since I used the healed version, it does import a little bit above that world origin line. and that's perfectly fine. So like I said last time, this is what you would think of as the floor in the VRChat world. So you always want your stuff to kind of be, right about here to make sure that your avatar is not going to be floating above the world floor or into the floor whenever you actually get in game. But since we use the healed version, Zenpia left it to where it comes in just a little bit higher because it's expecting you to have those shoes. So that's perfectly fine, and we're going to leave it. These white like bar triangle things are the armature. More often than not, you can hide it over here by clicking that little eye symbol, just because you don't really need it quite right now. And if you click this little down arrow, you can see everything that's assigned to that armature. And that is going to be very important. So good thing about Zenpia's base is it does come in with clothes already on it, which is very useful. And another reason I'm using it so that YouTube doesn't yell at me. I'm going to delete these thigh-high socks. Yes, I'm going to delete those because I don't want them on my avatar. And if I do, I'll put them back. I personally just double click and rename everything just so that it's a little bit easier for me to keep track of. So something that is cool with bases is a lot of them will come with what's called shape keys. These are how you can quickly edit the base. There is sculpting in Blender, which I use a lot, and I will make a own video about sculpting. But sculpting can be kind of finicky, especially if you're not used to it. It can be a little bit overwhelming, or it can be a little bit hard to get it how you want. So if you want to change things about the avatar without sculpting, you can do it this way. And it does come in gray because it defaults to this type of viewport shading, which is a solid mode. So we will cover getting it to look normal here in a second. But with like Zenpia's base, she has like a thin or a thick one, so you can change it and see how it changes that stomach and the legs to be a little bit thinner. And you can always get it, in the middle. It doesn't have to be 0 or 1. And then you can make it thicker if you want. For this avatar, I think I'm going to go... maybe about there. And I'll end up doing some sculpting to the base too to get it exactly how I want. A lot of creators will get the base and do their sculpting and save that as its own FBX and reuse that same sculpt over and over, which you are more than welcome to do. I just normally I end up changing it per avatar just based off of what I want. So don't worry about the panties clipping. We're not going to be keeping that underwear anyway. We might, I don't know for sure yet. But anyways, don't worry about that. We'll mess with that later. So let's say and you can change her chest sides. You can see those white lines changing. I don't know if this is gonna, yeah, it's gonna clip through. I'll do that here in a minute because I just don't want to get in trouble with YouTube. So anyways, so like, with the thick, we have it at 0.479. That's just where I want it. If you, play with any shape keys to get it how you want, Nessie's head, and I think Cynthia's head also have shape keys to like edit the face to make things a lot easier for people that don't know how to sculpt. If you ever have it, at any point other than 0, what you're going to want to do is you're going to click this down arrow here and go to apply selected shape key to basis. And then it's going to pop this up as thick reverted. So you can still take this and drag it all the way up to 1 and get it back to how it was if you ever need to undo it. And then apply that again. But applying the shape key to the basis basically lets it stay this way. So if you don't hit that button, then whenever you go to actually put the avatar into Unity or in game, it's gonna do away with it and it's gonna go back to how it originally was. So shape keys are a really, really great way of how to edit. I am going to pull up, I think this is the button. You know what? That works for now. I'm going to fix the chest real quick. I just don't want to get in trouble with YouTube for showing nudity. So I'm going to fix this real quick and then I will pull it back up for you guys. And again, like I said, don't worry, I will be having its own little video about how to sculpt clothing and stuff so that it's not clipping. So I will be sharing that with you guys. I'm just not doing it right now because I really want that to be its own video, since it is going to be a lot to cover. Oh. Sorry, I'm trying to hurry. So, whoops. There we go. I fixed it. So, I did turn up the chest size to bigger, and I did the same thing. Click that button and applied it as applied it to the bases. So, shape keys are going to be your friend for editing until we get to sculpting. But that's how you can go through and edit body. Well, I can't really see it. But like I said, like you could, and you can have multiple shape keys, right? Like, so I have the chest and the thick one. You can have like, thin, like you could set, I mean, it's not really the best example, but like you could mess with like the thick and thin and get it set to exactly how you want, if that's going to be easier for you. There's stuff like abs, you can set. So there's lots of really, really cool, shape keys that will come on a lot of bases and heads to edit, and if there's not any shape keys to edit the base or the head, then I promise we will cover that. So we're going to now import the head. So same thing with cats, imports up here. If you're going the old way, go to File and then Import. And I'm also going to be using Zinpia's Savvy head. Savvy? Anyways, just because I love this head. It is so easy to use. When you're importing something, here's a few tricks that I use. I personally will come into orthographic view to get the sizing right. And also, it's going to be importing with its at the origin right here at the world origin at 0, 0, right? So it's kind of difficult, like if you're like zoomed in and you're trying to get it just right and it's way down there, you can't, right? You have to keep scrolling in and out. What I do a lot of times is with the armature selected, right? And I do have certain colors. I think the default is like orange instead of red. If you need to, just, click it over here in your hierarchy, as long as it's highlighted. Oh, it's my alarm. I'm sorry. You can right click and set origin to geometry. And that'll bring up your little doodad here. It is going to make this little line. Don't worry. We will get rid of it. But then, see, now I can size it and I can move it. Right here, which makes it so much easier. And then I'll come. See, and that's the other thing. Zinpia is it's pretty much perfect. Sometimes you might have to pull it forward. I think it's still just a smidge big. Yeah, something like that. Oh, actually, a little bit bigger. Okay, and then I'm going to hide that armature just so we can see it. Scrolling out is going to be your best friend to make sure that nothing's too small. I always think that it's too big, and then I get it in and I'm like, okay, it's too small now. So I'm just hitting S to scale. And if we need to, I can always come back and we can rescale it later. It's okay. Something else is, it's going to be a lot easier to tell how your head looks once you get the hair on. Trying to judge it when it's bald is a little tricky. I'm not going to merge any of the armatures quite yet. We will do that here in just a minute. I'm going to go ahead and grab the hair. And then we will cover like the textures. And ooh, cheeky. I love it. I love it. Good creator. Sleepy is awesome for doing that. It does not apply to what we're doing right now, but that's okay. Whoop. And that white thing that you're seeing right there is called a head cap. And we'll cover that a little bit later. So again, I'm just using these arrows to kind of drag it, hitting S to scale it. Just to kind of position it. I think that looks good. And don't worry about any parts that you see clipping right there. We will, or like down here, we'll fix all that. So no stress. Yeah, we'll end up fixing all that. So, ooh, that's cool. That's so cool. I'm sorry. I obviously haven't played with this yet. Oh, that's so cool. So you could like, oh, that gives me ideas. You can like merge hairs. That is so cool. So like if you have like a different ponytail from a different creator, she separated it to where you could easily like, and that's genius. Oh, as someone that's been recently getting into making hair, I'm just like, oh, I'm dying. All right, ignore me. Yeah, I might end up pulling it down lower. Something to be very careful of is, let's say, you know, you click the ponytail and you still have the armature hidden. And let's say you go to move it, your armature for it's now down there. So be very, very careful of that whenever you go to, move things. You always want to move it with the armature, because if not, and you go to move that hair way up and then it's armatures like down like that, like that's really gonna cause some problems, because it's not gonna basically move correctly with the weight painting is what it's called. So so yeah, let's say we got everything situated. Now we can come back into orthographic view here. Hello, Blender, and take a look at that head. I think it's okay, maybe just a smidge. Up, and then take this. Yeah, I like that. Cool. So yeah, you'll kind of get everything situated how you want. Normally what I do is I'll do this one at a time so I don't have 3 armatures to merge, but it's, you know, it doesn't really matter, honestly. Over here on cats, under custom model creation, I uncheck join meshes because I want everything to stay separated. The reason being is so that it's going to make it easier for if I do want to do some face sculpting, or if I do want to make a toggle for the hair, then everything's going to stay separated. In the end, you can merge your head and your body. That's, of course, perfectly fine. I wouldn't suggest merging everything like your clothes and your hair, because then you won't be able to make toggles for it. So leave anything separate that you want to be able to have toggles for. So by default, I leave join meshes turned off, just because I can always go back and join things that I want to be together later. Remove 0 weight bones. I keep this checked marked. That basically means any extra bones that aren't used for anything. It's a very long story how that happens, but anything that's extra that doesn't have anything assigned to it pretty much is going to get removed. And I leave that on because having extra bones is going to make your model unoptimized. Most models are already unoptimized, just because optimized models have a lot of restrictions on them and are a lot harder to make than you would think. I do turn on merge all bones. So what this is going to do, so on our head bone, we have, you know, that's going to be called the head. And then on our hair bone, I believe this one's probably going to be called the head. So let's say both of these are named the same thing, both named head. It's going to go ahead and merge those together so that I won't have multiple. And that's going to save you a lot of time and, again, some optimization there. So the base right here, if you see this and you're like, oh, I don't know which one, it's right here with the little green dude. So this is our body's armature, and it's just named armature. So we definitely want that as the base. When you're merging your armatures, you always want the body's armature to be your base. And then to merge, that's what it says right here, to merge can be these other ones. Doesn't matter what order we go in. So we'll hit merge armatures, and then savvy, which is for the head, merge armatures. See, it's kept everything separate for me. And so now everything is all one armature, and I'll go through and we'll fix that here in a little bit. So now everything is separate, so I can still, play with things how I want. And I do have the head separate. Again, that's so that we can make sculpting and editing a little bit easier when that time comes, and then we can merge it later. I am going to go ahead and merge all of the hairs, just because I'm not going to be doing anything, any like extra hairs on this avatar. I'm going to keep her fairly simple. So I just clicked, and then shift clicked the other ones that I want to merge. If it's like down here, of course, you can control click. Pretty simple. So just shift clicking those, and then you can't have your mouse over here. It won't work if you do that. Put your mouse over here, like where your model is, and do Control J. That's what that little pop-up was whenever we imported the hair, was how to merge things, is Control J. Actually, I just thought about something. I'm going to leave it so that I can edit that head cap if needed. I will end up merging that here in a little bit, though. So Control J is how you merge things. It's going to make your life so much easier. We will head over to the armature and fix that here in a minute. First thing I do want to show you before we start like properly editing and sculpting and stuff a little bit is this viewport shading right here. So like I said, it displays in solid mode, which is all this gray. If you come over to this next one, which is material preview, it'll actually show you what the avatar is going to look like. It just needs a second to load. So there's the head. Super cute, right? That hair's a little high up, so we'll fix that. When it's pink, that just means that Blender couldn't auto find the the PNG, the image for that texture, which is okay. For this one, I will cover more of this later. Not really going to cover it too much right now, just because we're going to focus more on materials in another tutorial. It's not the most important right now. I just needed that gone. So for the body skin, so like it's saying it can't find this. So click this little yellow dot. Oh, sorry. Not like that. Click this little down arrow. Go to this folder, and it says Open Image. And then navigate to wherever you had that saved. So here's where I have it saved. And I'm just going to go up to Textures, Skin, and I'm going to click base color. You can always open it in your normal folders to actually see what it looks like. I just know that it's this one. I'm going to click open, and there it goes. It's loaded in now. Same thing with the hair. So she used this image 21, which doesn't look like she's left in here. So I'm going to open actually, I don't know if she, hold on. Let's go to Jinxie. I'm gonna see if here, just because I don't remember the exact link. That's cute. Okay. Sleepy's hair. Sleepy. Oh. Oh no. Guess I can look this way. It looks like she has it on the alpha textures. Oh, I already undid it. Oh no! Ignore that. You didn't see it. You saw nothing. It's a that word texture pack for Zenpia's base that I want to get, because it makes it look more realistic. We're just not going to show that on YouTube because I'm going to get in all kinds of trouble if I was to do that. So, here. Is this the Gumroad link? This is the Gumroad link. Do you say? No, you don't. UV map shape keys, but to watch Sleepy. I have questions. It's so cute. Ugh. Okay. Hold on just a second. I'm gonna go see if I can find the hair textures. Which means I have to open my server, and I have commission talk happening, so I didn't want that to be shown. Let's see, GIFs. So uses CCs. Okay. Cool. That's what I wanted to know. Okay, and she put that there. Okay, download. So, the creator I got the hair from, it is a server exclusive hair, which is another reason I didn't want to show it on stream because the passwords in her server to get it. Anyway, she just said that she forgot to put the little baby hairs for that tippy top of her hair in the file. So I went and grabbed that, and then she also said that it is UV'd to this. It is a free texture hair pack. I know Nessie's hair, my hair, a lot of hair is going to be UV'd to this. This is how you can get those what's called alpha. So it's got the little cute little actual hair strands at the bottom. So I'm going to pull that up and download a hair color for it. And that's okay. Sometimes the hair will come with, like, you know, at least like one color or something. And if not, then, you know, just like hers, she just said like, oh hey, it's UV'd to CC. So if you don't have it, you can just go download it. It's for free, and then you can download whatever hair color you want. So now that I have it downloaded, I'm just going to come over here, click the image, and boom, it pulls it in. Now, with the alpha hair textures, as you can see, it's not actually doing it right now, even though I put my image in. So what you need to do first off is over here on your materials, scroll all the way down to settings. Here where it says blend mode, opaque, click that and change it to alpha clip or hashed or blend. I just prefer alpha clip. Then you got to come up here to your shading right here. This looks a little scary. It's not, I promise. So this is our material for our hair. So all that we need to do to get it to actually show alpha is this is our image, and here's our alpha spot. Take this alpha, click and drag it all the way down and connect it. Ta-da! Now it's actually got the little bits. If you can see the difference, see it's solid. Little bits. So that's how you make that alpha, is what it's called. And then on the hair, this baby hair's spot. So she forgot to leave it in the texture, which is fine. I just had to go back to her server and download it. So it's importing as a color, right? Which is not what we want. So that's when you click this little yellow dot, go to image texture, and then you can open it. I just gotta find it, don't mind me. Nope. Yes. Though I don't know what color it's gonna be. I'll have to fix the color because I want black hair. That's okay. Same thing. Alpha clip, shading, alpha to alpha, and now it's fixed. What? Why is it? Oh, I'm dumb. That's because it's the head. So that's her little baby hair's texture. So she's fine. She did leave it as a more of like a gray color. Hello. So hers, you can see it. Well, I guess you can't really see it. I don't remember how to pull it up. Never mind. I'm dumb. Ignore me. Maybe? Maybe I remember. Hold on. Nope. Preview. Aha. Really? Thank you. So, on her file, she has it more of like this gray color, and I'm using black hair. I was looking at these. I was like, where did that come from? That's just part of the head texture. So in the next tutorial, I will show you guys how I personally edit textures like this to get it to match. So I will edit that to be black, and I use it very simply. If you know about photo editing, like in Photoshop or something, go to town. I use a desktop app or a desktop website. So we'll do that in the next tutorial. I change on my materials right here under color space this specular. It's what the light reflection is. I normally bring that down just because I feel like that's like too much. So I normally bring it down quite a bit so that it's more just a flat black. So yeah, we're hitting that 30-minute mark, which is kind of where I wanted to stop for each tutorial if I can. So that's how you import things and you merge armatures, at least how I do it. You are more than welcome to keep importing, you know, all your clothes and your assets if you want to, and you can merge all the armatures. Personally, I would wait to merge armatures because I did not get to cover today how to properly merge. So like, I'll just show you. Right? So if I go into pose mode and I start playing around with the head, which I need to bring down and do some weight painting, we will cover that too. The hair's not moving with it. I didn't get to cover that today, so personally, during this next week while you're working on your avatars, I would not suggest merging everything quite yet, just because it can get a little overwhelming, because there's some stuff that's going to come into play that will help you not be so overwhelming. But if you want to get it all imported and just hide your armature and kind of get it lined up, you are more than welcome to do that. I'm sorry there's not more on this week's tutorial. I kind of want to keep them as short as I can without being overloading. And there is a lot that goes into avatar creation. So during this next week, you know, go on Jinxie, Gumroad, Payhip, go grab your assets, get together all the stuff that you want for your avatar, get familiar with Blender, make sure you're, you know, used to the controls, and feel free to start importing everything and kind of getting it lined up. Next week, we will start covering how to edit Armature, what to do if your asset doesn't have Armature, which I do have a tutorial already up on that if you want to go look at that, as far as how to attach that to the body. We'll cover a lot more next week as far as like editing, you know, to make sure like the hair follows the head and things like that. I'll also try my best to get a sculpting video out next week. I'm not always going to be able to do 2 videos per week though, but I'll try to get that recorded as well and get the series out to you guys as fast as I can. Just bear with me because like I said, I do have a lot going on with my own work, as well as I want to leave some time for you guys to be able to do things and ask any questions as you're going along before the next tutorial is released. So that's how you import the basics, you know, the body, the head, play with shape keys, merge armatures, fix alpha textures, simple things like that. If you have any questions, simple questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Other than that, like I said before, feel free to reach out on my Discord server. That is the best way to reach me, 110%, because that's what I check the most often. And I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have. Other than that, I will see you guys next week with another tutorial.